The wind was sharp that night, carrying the scent of rain and rusted iron across Millstone Correctional Facility. Somewhere beyond the barbed wire, the forest whispered secrets. Inmate Jace Calloway crouched low, muscles taut, heart hammering. His escape wasn't just desperation, it was survival. Somewhere in the shadows, a low growl broke the night silence. K-9 Tracker's eyes glowed like molten coal as he advanced, dragging Jace back toward the yard with unrelenting force. Behind the chain-link fence lay a truth no guard, no prisoner, had ever uncovered. This night would change everything. The yard at Millstone Correctional was nothing but cold steel and earth. Under the pale glare of floodlights, the gravel crunched under the boots of the guards, and the barbed wire shimmered with moisture from the evening mist. The air smelled of wet concrete, sweat, and something else, something heavier, like decay. It was the kind of smell that made the night feel alive. Jace Calloway leaned against the stone wall beside the laundry shed, hands shoved deep in the pockets of his worn prison jacket. His face was half-shadowed, and his breathing was uneven. He'd been watching this yard for weeks, memorizing patterns, shifts, guard rotations, even the way Tracker moved. That dog was a weapon, a constant shadow to whoever dared to step too close to escape. But Jace wasn't stepping close. He was stepping into a trap of his own making. Across the yard, the K-9 handler, Sergeant Rourke, paced slowly, keeping Tracker at heel. Rourke's face was set in a grim line, the kind that came from years of carrying other people's crimes in your hands. There was something about him that didn't fit into the easy narrative of prison life. Other guards joked about him being too quiet, too watchful. They didn't know what Rourke kept in his mind, tucked away like contraband. The yard was alive with murmurs, men talking, laughing, spitting. Some kept their heads low. Others challenged the air with loud voices. Jay stayed apart. He didn't belong here anymore. His crime had cost him more than freedom. It had cost him trust. He glanced toward the far fence, where the forest pressed in close. Darkness pooled there like a living thing. Somewhere beyond it was his ticket out. Jace shifted his weight and glanced back toward the gate. A guard stood there, smoking under the light, eyes fixed on his phone. Routine. Comfort. That was all he needed. But Jace knew the moment would come when routine breaks. He started toward the far corner of the yard, near the maintenance shed. His boots made the gravel whisper underfoot. Tracker's ears twitched. The dog stiffened, growled low in his throat. Rourke's voice broke the hum of the yard. Calloway, stand still. Jace froze. His body tightened. Every instinct screamed to bolt. But he stayed, pretending to inspect his boots. He could feel the dog's eyes on him. Tracker wasn't trained to follow orders blindly. He was trained to sense intent. That growl had a weight behind it, an understanding that went deeper than sound. Don't move, Rourke said again. His voice was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that carried warning. The moment stretched. Jace's breath came in shallow bursts. Then, without a sound, he bolted toward the fence. Gravel sprayed underfoot. The dog's growl became a snarl, and Rourke shouted orders that were drowned out by the pounding of boots. Tracker lunged with terrifying speed. The chain of sound broke, the slap of boots on gravel, the steel of the fence rattling, Tracker's teeth snapping shut. Jace's body hit the dirt hard. Pain exploded through his shoulder, but he didn't cry out. The world narrowed to the grip of Tracker's jaw, and the sound of Rourke's voice behind him. Hold him steady, Rourke said, voice flat. The dog's teeth didn't loosen. Jace struggled, but Tracker dragged him backward across the yard, toward a part of the prison no one ever went, the far corner behind the maintenance shed. The crowd in the yard murmured, half curious, half afraid. Guards formed a line, but no one stepped forward. Rourke moved alongside Tracker, his face unreadable, eyes fixed on something beyond the struggle, something hidden. They reached the corner, and Rourke gave a sharp whistle. Tracker obeyed instantly. Jace collapsed onto gravel, coughing and spitting dirt. The dog dropped to his side, but his gaze didn't leave Jace. Rourke stepped close, crouched low. This isn't about the fence, Calloway. You know that. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper, but it cut through the chaos. Jace glared at him. Then what is it? Rourke didn't answer right away. Instead, he gestured toward the shed. Come here. Jace scrambled to his feet, leaning heavily on one arm. Pain flared in his shoulder with every movement. The guard stood back, watching. The yard was silent now, like a forest waiting for something to break. The shed was old, rusted, with a lock that looked like it hadn't been opened in years. Rourke pulled a set of keys from his belt, slid the lock open without hesitation. The door groaned as it swung inward, revealing darkness. Inside was something no one expected. An old passage carved into the earth, hidden beneath the shed floorboards. Dust and the smell of rot drifted out, curling around their boots. The air was colder inside the tunnel. Jace swallowed hard. "You brought me here for this?" Jace said. His voice trembled, but not from fear. Something darker lingered under his words. Rourke nodded slowly. "There are things in this place no one should know about, and you're too close to finding them anyway." The sound of footsteps echoed from inside the tunnel. A slow, dragging sound. Neither of them moved. Jace's mind raced. This was no simple punishment for trying to escape. This was something else. Something buried. Something dangerous. The kind of thing that could change everything inside Millstone. He looked at Rourke, searching for truth. But Rourke's face was unreadable, locked in shadows. Without another word, Rourke stepped inside the passage. Tracker followed him, ears pricked, body tense. Jace hesitated, torn between running and following. The air around him seemed heavier now, charged. The sound of breathing, deep and deliberate, came from inside. Jace knew the prison yard wouldn't be the same again. Whatever lay inside that tunnel was going to pull him deeper than the fence ever could. They vanished into the dark. The air inside the tunnel was damp and tasted of mold. The walls were slick with moisture, rough stone pressing close on both sides. The light from Rourke's flashlight cut through the darkness in a thin beam, casting jittering shadows that danced along the uneven walls. Every step echoed, each footfall a small explosion of sound in the quiet. Jace followed slowly, his shoulder aching, every muscle tensed. Tracker walked ahead, silent except for the occasional snuffle of his nose against the stone floor. Rourke moved with precision that spoke of experience. Not the kind you get training K9S, but the kind you get from navigating places nobody should ever walk. They reached a section where the tunnel widened, revealing something unexpected. A carved stone archway, its edges chipped and worn with age. Beyond it lay another chamber, faintly lit by shafts of light coming from cracks above. The air here was colder, heavier, almost alive. Rourke stopped. "This isn't part of any record," he said quietly. His voice had a strange edge, one Jace hadn't heard before. "No one knows this exists. Not guards. Not warden. No one." Jace looked toward him, breathing ragged. "Then why are you showing me?" Rourke didn't answer right away. He crouched beside a patch of stone floor, brushing away dirt with gloved hands. Beneath the grime was an engraving. Symbols that made no sense, sharp lines carved with meticulous care. "This is older than the prison," Rourke said finally. "Older than the land. Millstone sits on something people died to bury." His eyes flicked to Jace, unreadable. "And we just dug too close." A low rumble echoed through the tunnel. Jace froze, instinct telling him something was wrong. Tracker stiffened, ears pricked forward. The sound came again, slower this time, like breathing deep underground. Rourke stood. "Stay close," he said. His voice was calm but firm. "Whatever this is, it isn't safe." They moved deeper into the chamber. The walls here were carved with more of the strange symbols, and there was something else. Stains along the stone, dark and dried, like blood aged beyond recognition. Jace swallowed hard. His instinct screamed to turn back, but curiosity anchored him forward. The tunnel opened into a wider cavern, and the smell hit Jace like a punch. Iron and rot, mixed with something faintly sweet. The beam of Rourke's flashlight caught something in the corner. Stacks of rusted cages, old and broken, as though they had been here for decades. The air felt heavier here, almost oppressive. Rourke moved forward, crouching beside one of the cages. "These were never meant to hold prisoners," he said quietly. "They were meant for something else." A faint sound came from deeper in the cavern, a dragging noise, slow and deliberate. Jace froze, glancing at Rourke. The guard expression was taut, unreadable. Tracker growled low in his throat, the sound deep and warning. "What is it?" Jace asked, voice tight. Rourke didn't answer. Instead, he led them deeper, toward a passage that descended further. The dragging sound grew louder, echoing like something breathing. Jace's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed to run. But there was something he couldn't explain, a pull toward the darkness. They descended into what felt like the belly of the earth. The air grew colder still, each breath forming a faint mist. Water dripped somewhere far ahead. The sound amplified in the silence. Tracker moved ahead silently, his nose to the floor. They reached another chamber, larger than the first, filled with broken remnants of something old. Shattered stone pillars lay scattered, and against one wall was a mass of twisted metal and bone. Jace blinked, unable to look away. The shapes were grotesque, remnants of cages, chains, and something organic. The smell was overpowering now, metallic and sweet in the same breath. Rourke stepped forward. "This was buried for a reason," he said softly. "They didn't want anyone to see this." Jace's breath caught. "Who?" Rourke's face tightened. "That's the secret. And if they find out we're here, they'll kill us." From the shadows came the sound of movement. Slow, deliberate. A shuffling, dragging noise that made Tracker growl sharply. Jace glanced around the cavern. There was nothing visible, but the air was alive with something unseen. Rourke shone his flashlight into the darkness. At first, it revealed nothing. Then, from the far side, a figure emerged. It was hunched, its face hidden under something that looked like a mask, made of bone. Its movements were slow, unnatural. Jace's stomach turned. He could feel Tracker tense beside him. Rourke drew his service pistol, voice low. "Stay back." The figure stepped forward. Its breathing was ragged. A sound came from it, a low, guttural whisper, almost like a chant. The light caught its face, and Jace could see something terrible beneath the mask. Skin pulled tight, eyes pale and wet. Before Jace could speak, the figure stopped, staring at Rourke. The air grew heavier. Tracker barked once, low and fierce, then lunged forward. The figure vanished into the darkness with a sound like tearing fabric. The tunnel fell silent. The only sound was the beating of Jace's heart and the drip of water somewhere in the shadows. Rourke lowered his pistol. "We need to go," he said. His voice was sharper now, urgent. "This isn't something we walk away from. They're watching." Jace looked at him, confused. "Who? Who's watching?" Rourke didn't answer. He led them back toward the archway. Tracker stayed tense, glancing behind them as they moved. As they reached the surface again, the yard was quiet. The floodlights burned above, but the air felt heavier now, charged. Guards were staring at them from the fence line. Whispers ran to the prison like a current. No one spoke aloud, but Jace could feel their suspicion. Rourke glanced at him. "You don't understand. This isn't just about escape. It's bigger. Way bigger." Jace wanted to ask, but the words stuck in his throat. The memory of that figure lingered in his mind. The mask, the bone, the sound. Something in him knew that whatever lay in that tunnel wasn't just a secret. It was a danger they'd unleashed, and it was coming for them. The night had thickened over Millstone Correctional. The yard was empty now except for the flicker of guards moving behind fences and the distant hum of generators. Jay sat against a stone wall near the laundry shed, shoulder aching, breathing hard. Tracker lay beside him, ears twitching, growling softly under his breath. Rourke paced a few steps away, boots crunching on gravel. His face was pale, drawn tight. The weight of what they'd seen in the tunnel had shifted something inside him. The K-9 handler, who was always calm, now looked restless, as if he were carrying a secret too heavy to speak aloud. Finally, Rourke stopped pacing and looked at Jace. "We have to talk. Now." Jace met his gaze warily. "About what?" "That thing in the tunnel." Rourke nodded, his eyes flicking toward the barbed wire. "It's not just a thing. It's what the prison was built to hide. Millstone isn't just a correctional facility. It's a containment site. For something older." Jace laughed bitterly. "Older? You sound like one of the inmates telling ghost stories." Rourke's expression hardened. Do you want proof? He glanced toward the maintenance shed. Come with me, before they lock it down. Jace hesitated. Pain in his shoulder screamed at him to stay still, but something deeper, a pull, drove him to stand. Tracker followed without hesitation, growling low. They moved in silence toward the shed. Every step felt heavier, as if the air itself was pressing down. The yard was darker now, guards nowhere in sight. Something had shifted. The air was charged, like the quiet before storm. Rourke unlocked the shed again. The tunnel beyond was black, but Rourke's flashlight cut a path forward. You need to see this, he said softly. They descended. The air grew colder with every step, carrying with it a faint metallic tang. Jace's heart pounded. Somewhere deep inside, he knew this wasn't going to end well. The cavern was waiting. This time, Rourke didn't hesitate. He stepped into the wider chamber, the light revealing more of what had been hidden. The bone mass figure was there again, crouched, unmoving, staring at them. Tracker growled louder, a deep warning that shook the air. Jace's stomach twisted. What is it? Rourke stepped forward, pistol drawn. They were experimenting. That thing is what they made. They called it Project Hollow. His voice broke slightly. They locked it here decades ago. The warden, the government, no one talks about it. But Millstone was built over it, to contain it. The figure shifted slowly, dragging itself forward. The sound was like stone scraping stone. Tracker barked sharply, lunging forward, but Rourke held him back. No, he said quietly. Not yet. The figure stepped into the light. The mask was bone, fused with skin, but beneath it something flickered. Pain, maybe memory. It spoke, in a voice that was both human and something else. Let me out. Jace's breath hitched. He glanced at Rourke. Why bring me here? Why me? Rourke's face hardened. Because they want to keep it buried. And they'll kill anyone who knows the truth. You tried to escape tonight, Jace. But this is why they keep people here. Not just to punish, but to keep the secret safe. A distant rumble echoed through the cavern. Dust fell from the ceiling. The air vibrated. The thing moved again, slower now, as if in pain. Tracker growled, pacing closer. Rourke took a step forward, lowering his pistol. It's not just containment. It's a prison within a prison. And I'm not sure the chain's holding any more. Suddenly, from the darkness behind them, another voice came, sharp, commanding. Rourke, stop. It was the warden. He stepped into the chamber, flanked by two guards with rifles. His face was pale under the light. You shouldn't be here. Rourke didn't look away from the bone-masked figure. I had to show him. His eyes locked with Jace's. You deserve to know. The warden's gaze swept the chamber, lingering on the figure. It doesn't matter. They will kill anyone who knows about this. You should have left it alone. His voice was low, but every word carried weight. Now it's too late. The air changed then. The thing in the mask stirred violently, letting out a sound like cracking stone. Tracker barked furiously. The guards shifted nervously. Jay stepped back, heart pounding. What is it? The warden's face was grim. A prison guard. And the prisoner. His eyes fell on Jace. Both of you now carry its secret. Rourke turned to Jace. You have a choice. Leave now and forget what you've seen, or come with me and uncover everything. But if you stay, it will change you. Forever. Jace looked at the bone mask thing. Its eyes, pale human, locked on his. There was something pleading there. Something alive. He nodded. I'll come. The warden's eyes narrowed. Then you made a grave mistake. Before anyone could move, the chamber trembled. Dust fell in showers. The bone mask figure screamed, a sound that pierced the air like a blade. Tracker barked louder, lunging toward it. Rourke grabbed Jace's arm. Run. Now. They bolted. The tunnel was collapsing behind them. Stones fell, the air filled with dust and the sound of metal tearing. Somewhere behind them, the thing screamed again, louder, anguished. They burst into the yard. The air was cold and wet. Guards shouted orders. The floodlights glared down on them like judgment. Jace gasped for air. Tracker barked furiously, his body tense. Rourke pulled him close. You know the truth now. That's enough to make them hunt you. Jace looked at him. What do we do? Rourke's eyes were steady, but there was something broken in them. We survive, and we don't let them bury it again. The yard was silent now, except for the sound of boots approaching. Somewhere behind the prison, something stirred in the earth, and it was coming